Welcome back, everybody. This is Matt from Sketching Up. As you can see, it's just me this week. Chris is pretty busy with work, so I said I would take the reins of Sketching Up, and it's my day, so I get to do whatever I want. And Chris has no power whatsoever to do anything. So please go and listen to us on all your podcasting apps that you can get on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Good Pods. Go listen to us and then go follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. We're pumping out more and more videos as we can. But yeah, so I'm here alone. Well, not really alone. If you're watching on YouTube, I got my little guest over here. That is Talia, my new kitty, and she is raring to go, obviously, as you can see. But yeah, no, it's a little weird being on here by myself, but Chris is here in spirit. But he does have a new Mad Props coming out on Monday. He is going to be having Billy West on, and that is going to be a very, very exciting interview. And you got to keep a lookout for all the stuff that he did at the expo and all of that on social media. So go follow Mad Props on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the good spots. And you'll see all the incredible stuff he is doing. So yeah, let's really get into it. There's been a lot, I guess, going on in cartoons and comics right now that I've been wanting to talk about, but we've been trying to cover as much as we can. So since today is my day, I really wanted to go into He-Man. I don't think Chris really watched He-Man. I remember watching it a lot as a kid because they were doing the reruns of the 80s version, and I fell in love with He-Man. Now I wasn't buying all the toys and everything for it, but I found it very entertaining. So I just really want to talk about that. The new movie is coming out on Friday, June 5th, and I'm really excited. I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to really give us a cool lore of He-Man. And yeah, but like the success of it is really from the animated series. So I'm going to go through some of the animated series. We're going to talk about it. But first, what I wanted to talk about first was the new suit that James Gunn posted that Lex Luthor is going to be wearing in the new Superman movie that's coming out next year is by far one of the coolest comic accurate suits that I've ever seen. This thing is exactly right out of the comics. Some people are saying, Lex has a suit that has no helmet. This one has a helmet. You've seen a little different iterations of it throughout his comic history. But the way it looks with the helmet is like you just took it right from the comic, and it is a practical suit. So it's no CGI. So he's walking around in it. He's moving great in it. That's what James Gunn tweeted out and said, he moves great in it. It's fully practical. He can run, he can jump, he can do all that stuff, which is so cool. I'm really excited to see this new movie because we got Supergirl coming up next month, and then we got Lanterns the following month. We're eating good in DC, and eating good is not just TVs and movies. I just finished reading last week the first issue of Absolute Green Arrow, and it is the craziest story. It is so cool. So if you guys haven't been reading any of the Absolute comics, I 100% please go read them. They are so good. Scott Snyder put something together that is blowing all our minds. And the Absolute Batman has been breaking records of comic book sales. Absolute Superman's doing such a really great job. Absolute Wonder Woman's awesome. I think one of the most beautiful comics I've ever read was Absolute Martian Manhunter, which is so great. And then we have Absolute Green Lantern and Absolute Flash, which are a lot of fun to read. But I've been really sticking with Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, and Absolute Martian Manhunter. but I really wanted to read Absolute Green Arrow, and I was like, I got to go out and get it, and I got it, and it was so good. It gives you kind of Arrow from the CW TV show, like the first season vibes, where there was a lot of killing, a lot of murder, like there was a lot of gore as much as CW could show. This is that, but even deadlier, even scarier. And if you didn't read a one shot about all the villains in the Absolute universe, they are actually the quote unquote Justice League. And in this one shot, you find out that they kill Oliver Queen. So we really don't know, and you don't get told in this comic that this Green Arrow is Oliver Queen. It could be anybody. It could be Oliver Queen, back from the dead. He could be a zombie. Who knows? There are so many different twists they could do with this character and how they set him up that it looks so good. They did Dinah Lance really well. She's like a ex MMA fighter. She was a cop. She's an ex cop, and she's just wrapped into this because she did date Oliver Queen. Um, and Oliver was trying to, revolutionize the industry, the stock markets, almost like doing what is happening today, where you can go onto these apps like Kashi and put wages down, and on Robinhood you can just start buying stocks. You don't need a stockbroker for it. That's what he's building in this world, and a lot of people want it. And they want all this new software that he's building with his roommate, who is a little weird, but he takes it over. And so there's a lot going on with his backstory, but we still don't know like who he was. Is he the same type of Oliver Queen that we know from the main universe, or is this a completely different Oliver Queen? Because they do open a couple doors, and you're like, what was Oliver doing before he died? It's a little weird. So I'm not going to spoil too much about it, but if you can, definitely go read it. The next is the Batman run that's going on. It has been so much fun. It's been really good. It's a it's a fun story because Vandal Savage, who is a Justice League um, level threat, is now the commissioner of the police force in Gotham. And you wonder, why would he, who has tried to take over a world, he's immortal like all of his life so far, why would he set his sights on Gotham? Now, I don't want to spoil too much because I do really want you to go read it, go support your local comic book shop. But I will say that this is really about Vandal Savage getting back at Batman, because Batman in the Justice League is always the one who thwarts his plans. He's the strategist, he's the tactician. He's making sure that everybody in the Justice League knows how to take down Vandal Savage. So it's a really good story. There's a new villain in Gotham that he's working with. Um, and he's pretty brutal. He's pretty much put a stranglehold over all the crime families in Gotham, um, and he's really trying to back Batman into a corner. So we're getting all these new things on top of, it was just announced that we are getting a new quote unquote Alfred. If you guys didn't know, um, Alfred did die in 2019, issue 77. Bane kills him, and he hasn't been brought back. So it's been a while since we've seen Alfred in the comics. And yeah, he hasn't come back. And that's weird for a comic, because normally somehow we would see Alfred. And it's not like we haven't. There's been flashbacks with Alfred, a lot of Nightwing story, um, from Rebirth and everything, and All In have centered around Alfred, and he kind of pops in there, in and out there, and now he is a an AI that works with Batman. He's in all the computers, he's helping him out. But it was announced with a cover is that Batman's getting a new butler, and it is a woman. We don't know her name. We don't know what where she comes from. The little excerpt says that it's a gift from beyond the grave from Alfred. And, this is going to be fun. I can, everybody, I feel like what I've seen online, and I kind of just brush over it because the Batman comic has been so good. Like all the comics have Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, Flash. They've all been really good. For the past, I don't know, 2, 3 years, they've just been very entertaining to read. So I'm just hoping that this will be fun, and I'm going to read it either way. We are on issue 10 of the Batman series. This character will debut on issue 12, so we still have a little bit of time, but it's very interesting. And the question is in where Batman is right now, because he doesn't own Wayne Manor anymore. He does still have Wayne Enterprises, but like he is staying, in a brownstone. A lot has happened in Batman's life. And if you really want to catch up, I would 100% do it. If you want to be a little more uh, quick with it, you can go to Comics Explained or Karmastorian. They're great. You can just watch a YouTube video and catch yourself up. But a lot has happened in Batman's life, with the Bat family, with his sons, everything. And so right now, Batman is again public enemy number one in Gotham, since Vandal Savage is the commissioner. So he doesn't have Jim Gordon or anybody working with him within the Gotham police. Um, he's kind of on his own. Damian is doing his own thing. Tim's doing his own thing. Dick's always doing his own thing. He's in Bloodhaven. So, you have a lot of these characters who are just kind of branching out on their own, and he's just kind of trying to protect Gotham at all cost. And again, a lot has happened in just the whole DC universe. Like the DCKO event was really, really good. So please go read that. And that will kind of catch you up to speed of like where Batman is. And he's kind of, struggling a little bit, but making his way and, doing things that he did when he first became Batman, because he didn't have any of the support that he had for these past, I don't know, 25 years. Now he's back to square one again. So it's a lot of fun. So I would definitely look out to read that. Now, Chris not being here, we were talking about what I can talk about, what I can go into. Now, in my head, I already was like, oh, I'm going into He-Man. But he also suggested we have a mailbag, and we had some questions. So I'm just going to answer, 3 or 4 questions that we got, and these are mine. So Chris can't take them. So the first question is, if Sketching Up had a Mount Rushmore of animation, who are the 4 faces on it? So for me personally, it would be Batman from the Batman animated series, obviously. It would probably be Bugs Bunny. I think I grew up watching Looney Tunes. He was always my favorite. He was always just the funniest dude, in my opinion. Like I didn't find like comedians funny, but I found Bugs Bunny funny. So I really liked him as a kid. Also Dexter from Dexter's Lab, one of my favorites. I rewatch it all the time. I'm rewatching it on Tubi right now. It still hits. It still slaps, as the kids say. It's still so much fun. So that one, and then Scooby-Doo. I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan. I grew up with Great Danes. My parents rescued them, so we had 3 to 4 Great Danes running through my house. I have a Great Dane now. He acts exactly like Scooby. He's scared of inanimate objects, and if a wind comes in and it blows the blinds in our living room a little too much, he gets scared of that. So yes, he is a Scooby. So yeah, Scooby-Doo, hands down. If you could own one prop or item from any cartoon or video game, what would it be? So I was thinking I'll do a cartoon and I'll do a video game. So my cartoon would be the grappling gun from Batman animated series. I know you can buy them, but like I would want like a real one. Like I could point it up at like a building and shoot it, and then have it sit. Yeah, it would probably rip my shoulder out of its socket, but I still would love a real one. And then for a video game, I was obsessed with Mortal Kombat as a kid, and I always wanted the kunai on a rope that Scorpion had, but it coming out of my hand like the first ever Mortal Kombat movie. I know the newer version Mortal Kombat, he has it like it is. It's a little more grounded and well, his story at least, and I really like that. But from like the first version of Mortal Kombat where it came out of his hand was dope. So I'd love to have a kunai just come out of my hand and just, you know, get over here type stuff. So that would be my two things. And then the last question, what was your biggest gaming obsession growing up? Ah, now I wasn't a huge video gamer. Growing up, I like to ride my bike, go outside, play video games, but I lived in the Northeast. So you could do that from probably the mid-April until probably mid-July, and then it was just like too hot and humid to do anything outside. And then, you know, we get the winter comes around, and so it starts to get rainy, and then it starts to get snowy. So when I was inside, I was always playing video games. So the one thing I kind of thought back, I was like, oh, I was huge into Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank. I had every single one when they came out. I was obsessed with those two games. Those two games I would play over and over again. And it wasn't until probably I got my Xbox where I would switch over and I was obsessed with like Assassin's Creed and of course Batman Arkham Asylum. So but like as a kid, when I was playing video games down in my house, I would say I played a lot of Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, and then probably right below that would be Sly Cooper and Dragon Ball Z Budokai, because I was obsessed with Dragon Ball Z at the time. I was watching a lot of Toonami. Toonami was my thing. So those are the two games. I would say Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter were like my faves. Um, so yeah, so why don't we just get into the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk about, and it is He-Man. Now, the new He-Man movie comes out, like I said, June 5th, where I'm super excited for it. I think it looks a lot of fun, but He-Man wasn't a comic. It wasn't anything else before it. It was a TV show, and it came out in 1983 and it ran until 1985, and that's pretty long for a cartoon even at that time. But it gave you the lore, it gave you all the cool characters that came with it. I really loved the villain Skeletor. It was kind of ironic when the newer versions on Netflix came out and Mark Hamill voiced Skeletor, because Skeletor in my mind as a kid was, oh, that's a Joker. That's him. That's this guy who just loves chaos and wants to rule the world. So it was kind of ironic to have Mark Hamill voice him. And he did a great job. But the 1980s was so good. It exploded. It was so popular. It was when, you know, toys were huge. So the toys were like what made it as big as it could. You could get the Castle Grayskull. You can get, you know, the Kingdom's Castle, in Eternia, and it's just it was just so much fun. I just loved seeing this character, and it's nostalgia. Like majority of memes that they're recreating now because of the new movie is iconic. Like it's nostalgia. It's nostalgia porn. What He-Man is, and He-Man was so much fun. Now after He-Man, there was the new Adventures of He-Man that ran from 1990 to 1991. It wasn't really received very well. The toy sales didn't really do well. It was more of a space opera than it was a grounded story with the battle between Eternia and Skeletor. And so you really don't you didn't really get the base of it, but they wanted to continue it, but it just didn't do very well. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to really talk about it. It wasn't really that fun. But I would say one of my favorites was He-Man: The Masters of the Universe from 2002 to 2004. I remember watching this. I remember watching all of this, and it was so good. The animation was really, really good. The voice acting was amazing. Um, I would have to say the Cam Clark who plays Prince Adam and He-Man again. Prince Adam. is He-Man. He gets the power of Grayskull. He turns into He-Man. But I feel like everybody who listens to us and likes cartoons, likes pop culture, you'll kind of know who He-Man is. That's why sometimes I do need Chris here so I can just kind of give a backstory, something, fun, because I do have the backstory written here, which is really funny. But I can read it. Prince Adam, heir to Eternia, possesses the power sword. By proclaiming by the power of Grayskull, he transformed into He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Alongside Tila, Man-at-Arms, Battlecat, Orko, he protects Eternia from Skeletor and his evil warriors. See, it's simple. It's easy. It's like, that's it. And all the toys for it were really sick. Like, even though I didn't have any of them, I did see like commercials where they were still like pumping it. And then I remember seeing it in Toys R Us. And I was like, oh, those are kind of cool. Kind of like Thundercats. Thundercats toys were huge in the 80s. And like you would still see them in the 90s in Toys R Us, like them trying to sell them and push them. But yeah, so He-Man Masters of the Universe, 2002 to 2004. It was a series retold the mythology with a deeper lore, stronger continuity, and anime-inspired action, which I guess that's why I loved it, because again, I was watching a lot of anime at that time. But the whole thing was showing a modernized Eternia and treated the mythology much more seriously than the prior series. So it was really, really good. And the big introduction during this time with Skeletor was once Keldor. Keldor was a half brother of Adam's father, the king of Eternia, and he was brutally hurt, and he made a deal to become Skeletor and try to take over all of Eternia. King Radner never knew that was Keldor. So that was huge. And then, they introduced also King Grayskull, the ancient hero whose power eventually froze through He-Man. He says, I have the power. That's his power, King Grayskull. And you learn a little more about it. So there was a little more backstory. There was a little more fanfare for the origins of the sword, of the power, of the Grayskull, of Eternia, and kind of how everything kind of meshed together. A lot of serious people, and I did look this up, they love this story because of the deep lore. They love it because the storytelling in it is more fleshed out. With the newer shows in the 2000s, we were getting a little more substance, a little more bang for our buck for these 22-minute episodes. You were getting a little more. And, at that time they started like part 1 and part 2s of episodes a little more. So you wouldn't get to the bottom of whatever was happening in that episode until the following episode that you had to wait for next week. It was just a lot of fun. The coloring was great. Like I said, the action sequences, which was kind of anime type action sequences, were really good. Skeletor in this was a lot scarier to me than in the 80s. And we all know why. You didn't want something that would scare a child in the 80s. But now I feel like when we got to the 2000s, people were like, no, let's make him a little scarier. Let's make him a little more evil. Let's push the envelope on this main villain, this main antagonist. And so they made him, and it was just a lot of fun. Again, Skeletor is like one of my favorite villains, so it's really cool that they explored his backstory in this show. The character development, not just with Skeletor, Prince Adam, King Grayskull, Tila and Man-at-Arms, and a lot of the characters that are friends with He-Man and go to battle with him, their stories were opened up. You find out a little bit more about their history and how they were in Eternia, and how they grew to be these powerful warriors that He-Man has at his side. And I really do hope that they take a lot of source material, not just from the 80s, since that was the beginning of He-Man, but from this series, because the series is a lot of fun. And ever since they, started promoting this movie, I've been seeing on X, Twitter, the more little clips of things that happened during this series, and just just really bringing me back. And I'm like, oh, they could just put this on somewhere that I can watch without paying, would be amazing. So I'm like, come on, Tubi, put He-Man on there. Come on, put him on there. It'd be so much fun. But I'm still waiting on that. So we'll go. This was, this show earned critical praise, but the toy sales again did not do good. And that's what was killing a lot of really great shows that we fell in love with at that time, 90s, 2000. Toy sales were the driving force for these shows. When you have just kids watching this show, it makes it really hard for a studio to be like, yeah, let's keep putting this out, even though kids are really loving this. At that time, they didn't really consider like the nostalgia of, people who grew up in the 80s watching this would sit down and watch this show. And I'm pretty sure I've met a bunch of people who watched the original show when it was airing and then watched this show too and loved it. But the toy sales, that's what crippled it. That's what crippled a lot of TV shows, is toy sales. And it's funny that we left that, like, we left that mindset of like, oh, if toy sales aren't doing good, but the ratings are really good, people are really attaching themselves to these stories, we'll keep going with them. Like we went to that when, oh, we're not going to create new cartoons anymore. We're just going to either do reboots or retellings, or we're going to do spin-offs. That's it. That's all we're getting. And has nothing to do with toy sales or anything like that. It's just the way the world works. So today, this one's just an underrated adaptation. A lot of people like it. It should just keep going. And then Masters of the Universe Revelation comes out 2021. Netflix. Of course, Netflix. Who else? But it was created by the awesome Kevin Smith. So as soon as I heard he was creating it and it was a sequel to the 1983 cartoon, I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. I love it. The updated animation is going to be great. The storytelling is going to be great. And then, I remember watching it and liking the first couple episodes because, it brought you back to that time. Like that's a good nostalgia watch if you want to watch it. Like, oh, okay, watch, somehow get a couple episodes of the 1983 and then put on Revelation, and I think you would like it a little bit. But it starts with the catastrophic final battle between He-Man and Skeletor that shatters Eternia and leaves the fate of magic in jeopardy. Much of the first season follows Telia as she uncovers what really happened. Now, a lot of people didn't like that it wasn't He-Man centric. It's called He-Man, or it's called Masters of the Universe, which I guess if you look at this and you go, it's He-Man, Master of the Universe, you would think He-Man would be in it, but it's not called He-Man, Master of the Universe. It's called Masters of the Universe. And I liked Tila's story in this. I think I'm maybe in the minority for this one. It's a good story. It starts off with a bang. It does kind of dip towards the end, and you're like, ugh, come on, let's get to it. Let's move forward, because if this is a sequel, we need to get back to He-Man, we need to get back to Eternia, and we need to get back to the endless struggle He-Man and Skeletor has. This kind of didn't really leave us with that. But again, Chris Wood voiced He-Man, Mark Hamill voiced Skeletor, which was Chef's Kiss, and then Sarah Michelle Gellar voiced Tila, who played, Daphne in the Scooby-Doo live action movies. I thought the voice acting was amazing. It was a lot of fun. And then we have the late, great Kevin Conroy as Merman. Like, one of his last voice acting gigs was in He-Man. So it goes down in my book as one of the best for sure. Now, I want to pause for a second. I want to look at what all my notes. I want to talk to you directly. He-Man is not for everybody. It's like one of those things where I was never into Thundercats. Um, I know a lot of people who run in the circle of comic books and cartoons are huge into like those 80 like action G.I. Joe ones, and I just wasn't. He-Man for me came on um like in the afternoon on Cartoon Network, like a random afternoon. I found it because I think I was sick one day. And I was like, oh, this is good. I like watching it. It's a lot of fun. Um, but it's not for everybody. There's a lot of story, and I don't want to just bore you with just telling you the whole story, and like reading it word from word from somewhere. But the story is is more grounded. It's not about, finding new places in space. It's not about a huge larger villain. You have, your Justice League or your Avengers, they're fighting, Earth villains, and then all of a sudden there's a Thanos or there's a dark side that's like really controlling the world. Um, you do get a character like that in He-Man, but like it's not as world ending as it's written for like Darkseid or Thanos. So if you want something that's a little bigger than that, then it's not going to be your cup of tea. But if you like a story about a hero that honestly doesn't want to be a hero, some of the greatest leaders and heroes don't want to be put in those positions, but that's what makes them so great because they have this immense power and they don't really want to use it. But He-Man uses it, Adam uses it to protect everyone he loves, protects the land that he loves, protects Castle Grayskull from real vile evil. And that's who Skeletor is. He is evil. He's been, like I said, he is the half brother of the king of Eternia, and he felt like he was slighted. He was slighted. He wasn't seen as um, a ruler or, as a monarch of Eternia. So what do? You get mad. You get angry. You have all this hate building inside you. And there you have Skeletor, which is a great story. Some of the best villains are ones who just sit and ponder and then work as hard as they can, sacrifice a lot. Skeletor didn't have a skull face when he started all this. He was a person. So he made a deal with pretty much a devil to become Skeletor and the way he looks and to get power. He is the darkness. And so it's a lot of fun to watch that. And like I said, it's kind of like the best villains are like that, like Bond villains are like that. They've been sitting and waiting, and then they go and they finally strike. A lot of Batman villains have been, slighted early in their life, and then it comes out and boom, they start to try to take over Gotham or even the world. One of the favorite villain that I love is Eobard Thawne. Eobard Thawne ran back in time, killed Barry Allen's mother, inadvertently creates the Flash, and then becomes a paradox. So he can't die in any point in time, almost like Kang, the Conqueror for Marvel readers. And he just goes back and tries to kill the Flash. But he's been hating the Flash before this in the 31st century for so long because he wanted to be like him. The Flash thwarted him from becoming a hero in that time when the Flash ran it into the future by accident. And ever since then, he's just been hating it, hating it, hating it. Those are some of the best characters. So we have the last He-Man animated series that came out. Masters of the Universe Revolution. This series focuses back towards Adam and He-Man as Skeletor joins forces with technological forces threatening Eternia. Hardock also becomes a significant factor. Now, Hardock is let me figure out how to say this. Hardock is like he's the leader of the Horde. He would be, I guess, considered the Thanos in this world. He was the ruler of Skeletor. Like he was the one who was calling the shots for a very long time. But again, he doesn't have like a huge army. He doesn't have his own planet. He doesn't have it. He was there, and he was betrayed, almost like Palpatine betrayed his first master in the Rule of Two in Star Wars. He betrayed Skeletor. Skeletor took him and locked him away so you couldn't see him anymore. And so this show brings him back. And it's been a while since we've seen Hardock, so I was very excited to see this. This one was taken by fans better because it kind of rerouted the ship, recentered the ship to going in the right direction. Technology and magic become a force that are first working together, and then they don't work together. They're opposing forces, so that's a really cool thing. Skeletor becomes probably the strongest he was ever going to become, which is really cool. And He-Man finally comes back and becomes centerfold, and he's the one. And it does dip into what the power does to He-Man because, he says, I have the power, and he becomes this big, brawly man and everything. But what happens when he doesn't have the conduit that channels that power? The sword. So you see in this when he says the words by the power of Grayskull and he gets hit with it, what happens to him? He turns into pretty much a raging Hulk. And he's not really there. He's just running around and beating the crap out of everybody, which is a very cool twist. I like the thought of, oh, he definitely needs that sword. I like that. Like, even though the way that the story tells it is that he's such a hero, he's such a staple in Eternia, and Grayskull he protects Grayskull, and Grayskull will always protect him. He still needs something to ground him to be able to channel those powers and be able to go out into Eternia and protect it the right way. When he doesn't have that conduit, when he doesn't have the sword, he gets all the power, but he doesn't know what to do with it. He's just a mindless Hulk. Think of Hulk in Avengers Age of Ultron when Scarlet Witch messes with his head and he just goes berserk. That's He-Man without his conduit, and it's insane, and there's no stopping him. He doesn't see friend from foe. He doesn't know when to stop. Like he does go and try to kill. So it's a lot of fun. I really liked it. They brought back a lot of the same voice actors, and continuing the story this way was a lot better, even though it was I believe it was a little shorter than the first iteration. Uh, Revelations. Um, Revolution was a little more condensed. I think the episodes were a little longer, but it was a good story all in all. I really loved it. But like in my point of view, I'm a little biased because I like Kevin Smith so much. I think he's a real comic book nerd who made it big, and all he wants to do is do right by the fans. And in my opinion, you get a lot of people who take the reins of these properties: He-Man, Batman, Superman, Avengers, and people will get a little upset on how they're portrayed. But, I can't say that like I would if I had the money, if someone handed me $1 billion or 500 million, however much the next Avengers Doomsday cost. They gave me that money and said, "Hey, go write and shoot a comic book movie." Now, one, I would do an original, like an origin for Reverse Flash, because his origin's kind of all over the place, and so I would like to kind of make it easier for people to understand. But also, I don't know if I would be so inclined to be uh, looking at source material and trying to shove that into a movie. You know, when you have the creative license to go and take these characters and do what you want with them, if you're a real fan, you're a kid in the candy shop. You know, like, do I expect Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars to be exactly like how Secret Wars, the 2015 or the one from the 80s, um, be exactly like the comic book, panel for panel? No. Do I expect Superman's and Supergirl? You know, um, Supergirl is heavy from the comic, but I don't expect that movie to be exactly panel for panel. I would hope that the writer and the director took some liberties and saw what they wanted to see. And so my whole thing is like, there is a line you draw in the sand and you say, all right, we don't go this way with the character, but we can push the boundary a little bit. We can push the envelope a little bit. Let's give them a little more substance. Let's give them another character. Let's give them, another new villain to fight. I personally thought the story in Invincible that we talked about, wherein Mark goes down to hell, like, that's not in the comics, but that was good. That was a lot of fun. I really liked that episode. It wasn't taken, well, I guess, but it's they're writing Invincible. We're getting Invincible. Like, let them do what they want. And of course, I'm again, from watching a lot of this stuff, I would say, season 1 and season 2 and season 3 of The Flash are very good because they take a lot of the source material, but they do a lot of different things. And they were awesome. And the same thing with Arrow. They had to change Arrow a little bit. He couldn't be a Batman. There is a Batman, and Batman and Green Arrow are a little too similar to put onto screen. So you have to do something different. I thought that was great. But then there are directors and writers who take a little too much liberty. And like, that's what happened to Flash and Arrow, in my opinion, that like they just took way too many liberties. And then just, it was not a comic book show really anymore. So yes, there is a line in the sand, but let them do what they do. So, that's my little rant, but I will say Masters of the Universe, Revolutions, Masters of the Universe, Revelations, He-Man, Master of the Universe from 2002, and then the original Master of the Universe from 1983. Please go out and watch. They are so good. Try to watch them before you go see the movie. I think it will help you a little bit better. I'm sure the movie gives you a really nice, deep backstory of what all these characters are, what Eternia is, what Castle Grayskull is. But, if you want a little more source material, have a little more not scratching your head during the movie, go give these guys a watch. It's a lot of fun. It's a good time. I'm going to be seeing it. I'm hoping I can see it sometime early next week. I'm so busy this weekend. And talk about this weekend, this Saturday, shout out to my little cousin, Anna Maria, or will be known forever as Sister Rosa. She is taking her final vows as a nun. She is going to become a nun. She's been doing this since she was 16. She got a calling. And so I'm just very proud of her, and I'm going to go up and see her. I haven't seen her in 7 years because she has been at a convent in Ireland. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to see her and see this ceremony. It's going to be beautiful. I am going to be stuck in a church for a little over, I think, 5-6 hours. So it's going to be a little rough. I haven't gone to church since I was in Catholic school. So hopefully I don't burst into flames. But yeah, so shout out to Anna Maria, Sister Rosa. I love you. I can't wait to see this. But yeah, that is sketching up. Thank you guys for coming to listen. I know it was just me. I know Chris wasn't here, but I hope you enjoyed. I hope you go see He-Man. I hope you get out to the movies. We have a bunch of great movies coming out this summer. We got He-Man right now. We got Supergirl. We have The Odyssey, which looks amazing. So yeah, go see some movies. It's gonna get hot soon. So what better way to beat the heat than be in a cool, dark movie theater? Come on. And also go buy some comics. Get out there. Some great comics are coming out. I talk about DC all the time, but the Ultimate Comics from Marvel has been absolutely amazing. All the Doom comics, if you want to really be ready for Doomsday, you go out there and you start buying some Doom comics, because Doom is an absolute awesome character. He is a villain outright, for sure, but you may get some sympathy from this guy if you read some of his backstory and everything. So go out there, go get some of his Doom comics. He's been present ever since they really announced Doomsday's coming out. He's been like the main dude in the Marvel comic universe. So, there's One World Under Doom that just ended, and then you have Bloodlust, which was really good, that had Doom in the centerfold. And now you have a new Doom story about him going back in time. So it's going to be really, really cool. Go out and watch it. But yeah, thank you for listening. Please go check us out on all the socials: TikTok, Instagram, probably Facebook. I'm off Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook in a while, but Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, go listen, YouTube. And yeah, give us a shout, give us a comment. Tell me if you go see He-Man. Tell me how much you love He-Man. Tell me if you go and watch some of these animated stories that I talked about. But yeah, thank you so much. And again, we'll see ya. Peace.